Hi, everybody. It's Brian Drake here from the Fantasy Football Hustle. And the most asked question this time of year is always, give me a running back sleeper. I hear it every time I talk to somebody about fantasy football. Running back is the most volatile position in the game. The injury rate is higher than any other position, and managers in your league are likely hoarding these guys like they're the last beers at a bachelor party. Here are the running backs to target in your upcoming fantasy football drafts with an ADP over 100. So this is 9th round or later in 12-team fantasy leagues, according to Fantasy Pros. First up, Rhamondre Stevenson of the New England Patriots, ADP of 108. We saw flashes of brilliance during his rookie season, including 2 100-yard rushing games. His 5 touchdowns, though, pale in comparison to backfield mate Damien Harris, who crossed the goal line 15 times last year. But this is a bet on Stevenson gaining the Patriots' pass-catching role. James White, who only had 14 targets last year, is still not practicing following offseason hip surgery. Last season, the Patriots' backfield target leader was longtime special teamer Brandon Bolden with 49 targets. If Stevenson can claim the work on third down, his value could skyrocket. Already in camp, there were reports that he's slimmed down 7 pounds and is working with the first-team offense. Then again, we're dealing with a Matt Patricia-led offense, and Belichick has already told us what he thinks of fantasy football, and it's not much. Let's move along here to James Cook of the Buffalo Bills, ADP of 112. If you listen to the Hustle, you know he's a huge favorite of our Dwain McFarland. And the Bills spent their offseason telling us they wanted a pass-catching back. They were rumored to have tried to trade for Christian McCaffrey. They signed and then lost J.D. McKissick. And they finally landed their man in round 2 of this year's NFL draft with 5'11" Georgia Bulldog James Cook. The brother of Viking super stud Dalvin, James enters the league as an exceptional pass catcher. During his senior year at Georgia, he collected 27 passes for 284 yards and 4 touchdowns in a split backfield with Raiders draft pick Zamir White. Cook looks to be the missing piece in a Bills offense that should once again be top 10 in pass attempts. In 2021, Devin Singletary and Zach Moss, remember him? Combined for 82 targets, which resulted in 425 yards and 2 scores. The draft capital alone spent on Cook says that Buffalo believes he can take that role and annihilate those numbers. There's no risk in drafting Cook at RB39. The Bills are telling you the answers to the test. Buy the upside. Nyheim Hines, Indianapolis Colts, ADP of 124. Everyone knows the Colts running back to draft is Jonathan Taylor, right? Well, not everyone is going to have a chance at the first pick in the draft. So you do, though, have a shot at Hines in the 11th round. Hines' 2021 wasn't anything to write home about because Carson Wentz's play and the emergence of JT, Hines saw a career low in targets. That looks to change in 2022 as Matt Ryan comes to Indy sporting the most targets to running back in the league last season. Ryan won't look to scramble like Wentz did, nor will he hold the ball and take a sack. Hines was a PPR machine 2 seasons ago when he caught 63 passes en route to a top 20 RB finish in PPR. Colts head coach Frank Reich is on record saying Hines is due for a big season. I'm a fan. I like him. I'm scooping him up everywhere. Damien Pierce, Houston Texans, ADP of 142. Now we're talking sleepers. My bet is more than half of your home league has no idea who Damien Pierce is. There's been a constant drumbeat, though, all training camp for Pierce, who's a 4th-round rookie out of Florida. Now, let's be real here. The Texans stink. But we're in the business of adding players who can earn high-leverage touches, and Pierce fits that mold. He's a shifty runner who can catch the ball when asked, hit 11.4 yards per reception, 2021 as a Florida Gator. Pierce has a nose for the end zone, too. 16 touchdowns on just 119 touches his senior season. Now we just have to hope the Texans offense can put him in a position to score at the NFL level. His main competitors for touches are Marlon Mack, who's on a 1-year deal, and Rex Burkhead, who has absolutely zero juice. Take a shot on Pierce, and if you miss on him, Marlon Mack should be available a round or 2 later. Let's see if one of these guys can pan out. Kenny Gainwell of my Philadelphia Eagles. ADP of 160. You might remember Kenneth from last season when he popped off on your waiver wire following a week 1 where he scored a touchdown. His 2021, though, was a bit uneven to say the least. From games with double-digit carries to being lost behind Boston Scott, he was an enigma to fantasy owners. Now, in 2022, he enters camp as something of a 1B to Miles Sanders. Reports out of Philly say Gainwell is being used much more out of the backfield as a receiver. Make no mistake, Miles Sanders is the starter for the Birds, but Gainwell absolutely has a role. He has better hands than Sanders. Gainwell with a PFF receiving grade of 73.6 led all Philly running backs. Gainwell also has proven himself as a capable goal line back with 5 rushing touchdowns last year. The issue you'll have with Gainwell is that unless Sanders gets hurt, he will always see less than 40% of the snaps. You also have to deal with Jalen Hurts potentially stealing goal line work. He had 10 rushing touchdowns last year. What you're betting on here with Gainwell is an explosive athlete in a good offense. And that, my friends, is the secret sauce to fantasy football. Tyler Allgeier, Atlanta Falcons, ADP of 162. Someone has to take the between the tackles carries off Cordarrelle Patterson's plate. And that man, my friends, is Tyler Allgeier. A bruising 5'11", 220-pound fifth-round selection from BYU, Allgeier totaled 1,800 yards from scrimmage as a senior. His 23 rushing touchdowns in 2021 won't go unnoticed by play caller Arthur Smith, who, oh, by the way, was calling plays for Derrick Henry during his best fantasy seasons. Smith's 2 years as Titans OC both ended with his offenses finishing top 10 in rushing attempts and top 3 in rush yards. Last year's Falcons offense finished 29th in rush attempts, but that was due more to poor game scripts and, let's be honest, a lack of overall talent. Allgeier looks to change all that. Draft him as your RB4 and watch as he becomes a serviceable back as the season continues for this young Falcons team. All right, now some quick hitters. How about Rachaad White of the Tampa Bay Bucks, ADP of 164? High-end receiving talent who could look to steal passing down work from Leonard Fournette. Kenyon Drake and Zamir White, both of the Raiders. We know the Raiders are moving to a Patriots-type scheme under new coach Josh McDaniels. One of these two guys could land that coveted James White role and see 75-plus targets. Plus, they cost you next to nothing in drafts. Tyrion Davis-Price of the 49ers, ADP over 200. Powerful, decisive, instinctive. These are all terms used to describe TDP, who has a chance to shine in Kyle Shanahan's offense. The 49ers have had 5 different leading rushers over the past 5 seasons. Do the math. Draft TDP with your late pick. Isaiah Pacheco of the Kansas City Chiefs. Here's a league-winning type pick. This kid out of Rutgers runs a 4.37 40. He can catch the football, and he plays for Andy Reid. He's going to need to supplant Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but with the work CEH has on tape, is that going to really be that hard? Finally, Ty Montgomery of the Patriots. News out of Patriots camp is that Montgomery has a shot at making the team. And if he does, and Rhamondre Stevenson doesn't hold down the passing game work, Monty could be a super, super sleeper. All right, everybody, make sure you leave a comment on your favorite sleeper for this year on the YouTube channel. If you want to get some practice drafting, go over to Underdog Fantasy. Use promo code HUSTLE. We'll match your first deposit up to $100. Again, promo code HUSTLE at Underdog Fantasy. And we know your home team draft is coming up soon. You got to have a draft board, guys. Go over to our friends at draftwithredzone.com. Use code FFHustle22, and we're going to save you $10 off any of their draft boards. I got one myself. They sent it to me. You can go to my Twitter feed at DrakeFantasy or at FFHustle, and you can see me unboxing the draft board and putting it together. It's awesome. Draftwithredzone.com, promo code FFHustle. Have a good one, folks. Get those sleepers, and remember to never get out hustled.